tēnei tala, o mea tupu i runga toa te whenua pele ko Tuvalu. Kai te awhiawhi tēnei, whiawhia hoki au, me ko whaitala hoki tātou mo te tokotahi hoki o Tamawhine, Kiwi, e tau loto i konai te University Maluga tātou tēnā, te University of Auckland, e whai hoki tēnā PhD. Kai te paitaimi tēnei, whiawhaitala mātou moia me ona ye hena survey tēnei e whai, o whesosoani whakawhisiri ki ia, mainly a base loading on migrants, tino kone e mai ki tōwhenua tēnei mai tōwhenua tēnei ko Tuvalu, mo Kiribati. Ia mana ko mia hea. Te tōtino Tuvalu mo Kiribati ke participate, ke whesosoani ki tēnā survey tēnei ia, e whai. Kai beside that, tō pia whaitala hoki me ia, tēnā pepa hoki tēnei e whai, e mainly around climate change hoki ne, me ka iani mawhawhawa ia, ke whai tēnā pepa, i mea tau mawhuriwhuringa o tau oaso. Te ala ke whakatalofa tāua kia Olivia i te awhiawhi tēnei o tālofa, Olivia, and Happy New Year!
Tālofa, Father. Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, move towards your mic. That's good. Yeah, and thank you for making time to come and be part of our Tuvalu community radio program tonight. We really appreciate that.
Oh, happy day to you too.
I know you are not new to our Tuvalu community. You have been very active in the, what you call Tuvalu Language Week as well, about some discussion around climate change as well. So, yeah, on behalf of our Tuvalu community, we say welcome, Olivia. It's good to have you on our program. Can you tell us a little bit about what are you around your PhD and the survey that you're trying to do, Olivia?
So the survey that I'm currently doing is part of my PhD, sort of broadly looking at New Zealanders' attitudes towards and the implications of climate change-related displacement to Aotearoa, New Zealand. And the survey is the first part of that. So the survey is assessing what New Zealanders know about climate change, what they're doing about it, but also, importantly, what are their perspectives on climate change-related migration, specifically from the Pacific.
Wow. So how is the survey going so far?
We've got about half of the responses that we need. Some of them are very, very concerning. I think that there's been a lot of people who see it as a space to sort of air their disagreement with climate change more broadly.
Yeah.
But also there's been some really encouraging responses, people showing a lot of compassion and a lot of, I guess, sense of guilt and the need to act in response to climate change on behalf of their Pacific neighbours. So that's really encouraging to see.
Why did you decide to do something like that for your PhD? What made you think I need to do this? What was the thinking behind that?
I guess for myself as Palangi, I saw that there was a lot of Palangi New Zealanders and other New Zealanders, Tawiwi, who weren't really engaged in the climate change space and weren't aware of the interconnections of their own actions here in Aotearoa and the implications offshore in the Pacific. And from that, I realised that there's a lot that we can do as Palangi to raise awareness and make sure that Aotearoa is prepared to either mitigate climate change, so stop it from happening, or prepare here on our shores to make sure that New Zealanders are more open and more aware.
So you are targeting Tuvaluans who are living in New Zealand and Kiribati who are living in Aotearoa, New Zealand as well. So they can participate in that survey, is that right? Or are you targeting other ethnic groups? Everybody.
Yeah, the broader range of opinions we have, the better. We want to really capture what all New Zealanders think, regardless of your ethnicity or where you were born, because everybody is in New Zealand if they want to be. Yeah.
Are you prepared to give us some example of those anti and some of those who are supportive of the survey?
Are you prepared to listen?
Oh yeah, of course. I think maybe our people need to hear that, so at least they are prepared for when that kind of argument come up again, and when our people are out there having that discussion or that debate, at least they are prepared. They know how to respond to that kind of thinking. You know what I mean? Not to get angry about but just to have that. Okay, now I need to know if that person's going to say this to me. This is how I am going to respond to that. You know what I mean? In a positive way, but not angry and end up fist fight. We don't need that.
That's fair.
Okay, so yeah, I'm dying to hear what some of the people say. So let's talk about the negative and then the positive after.
Okay, so
and maybe some example.
Start with the negative, finish with the positive.
Yeah,
to make sure.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of people who strongly disagree that climate change is caused by humans, or at least in part. Typical responses that I get at the end, where people have an opportunity to type their own opinion. Is sea level rise isn't happening. Sea level rise is caused by tectonic plate activity only. There's no such effect in the Pacific. And responses saying that New Zealand should not welcome any more migrants from any countries and focus on resolving homelessness and such here first. So those are the sorts of negative responses that I get. People can be quite harsh as well.
Mm-hmm.
They use very strong wording when they try and portray how fiercely they believe that climate change is false. But also, there are positive responses. A few of my favourite ones have been acknowledging the power of certain people groups here in Aotearoa to raise awareness of climate change. There's been a lot of elderly folks who comment perhaps that they see that they're not going to be affected in their own generation, but they're concerned for their tamariki. And so because of that, they're joining action groups or they're writing letters to politicians. That's always really uplifting. And there's also quite a lot of people who are very aware of climate change and express that they're doing everything that they can for their people, for their communities, to try and raise awareness or try and mitigate climate change more globally. So it's bittersweet, really.
So how many people do you need to fill in the... Are you halfway there?
Halfway there. Need about 600 people.
Okay.
Ideally want over 1,000. The more the better. But minimum 600. So doing good so far.
Okay, so are you reaching the 600 so far, or...?
Got another 300 to go.
Okay,
But
so that's what...
until the end of February.
Okay, so that's the deadline, the end of February. So you really need our Tuvalu people to make sure that, they participate in that survey, because it will be good to hear their strong views of things as well, tell their own stories. So what kind of questions have you got in your survey?
We've got your classic questions like, do you think climate change is real? Do you think climate change is caused by people? Other questions that look at the interconnectedness of New Zealanders and offshore. So perhaps there's a question such as, do you agree that the New Zealand government should invest in building water tanks offshore in Niue, for example? Or do you believe that New Zealand government should continue to commit to the Green Climate Fund with the UN? So people have an opportunity to say they strongly agree, or they strongly disagree, or all the way in between those points.
Or they can clearly say, oh yeah, I support that, and I also support that because of this. So, and people need to give their reasons of why.
They don't need to give their reasons of why. It's more just opinions and attitudes. The reasons of why will come through later when I actually get to talk to people one-on-one. That will tease out what their thinking is behind those processes.
Wow. That sounds very interesting. The end of February. So what happens after the end of February? So you collect that information and then what happened? Yeah?
Get to spend a lot of time analysing.
Can you imagine?
And after that, ideally going to write it all up and try and form it into some piece of policy document that can work together with Tuvaluan community, with the Kiribati community, in order to, I guess, highlight the most important issues, the most important misunderstandings, the most important misconceptions, and that way we can give it to different government, maybe council, maybe central government, and say, hey, there's a lot of people who don't really understand what's going on. A lot of people who don't understand that the reasons why we might not say climate refugee, or the reasons why we think climate change is important to act on here. And then hopefully the government will do something about it.
So what do you think of this government and where they stand on this? Or shall we talk about the... Okay, yeah. What are your thoughts of your assessment of this government in terms of climate change? I know about the zero carbon bill. What does it mean? I just don't know what it means. 2050. So how do you say, looking at this government, the current government, the government of the day at the moment, what are your thoughts on how are they dealing with climate change?
I think we're really lucky that the current government that we have has taken clear stance being pro-climate action in terms of policy as well as on-the-ground action here. we're really fortunate that we do have the zero carbon bill, right, being one of the First Nations to legislate
Yep.
and try and reach that 2050 target.
But do you think our people understand what it means?
And by our people, do you mean New Zealanders?
Kiwis, yep.
I think there's a lot of confusion around the implications of the bill, but it's hard to truly say what it means currently because the Climate Change Commission, which is part of that bill, are yet to put in place the legislation that's required to meet that goal. So there's a lot of questions that people can't yet answer, essentially.
And what's your feel about, the people, yes, we all kind of, so well done, Jacinda and your government for passing that there. But do you think our people really understand what it's all about? No idea. So what do you think the government needs to do to make sure that our people really understand? I'm talking about the grassroots, So what do you think the government needs to do to make sure that our people really understand what's in the bill, the zero carbon bill?
It's hard to say what they need to do yet because we don't know what they do and don't understand. Hopefully part of the survey will draw out people's understandings. It doesn't specifically relate to the zero carbon bill, but it would really emphasise where those lacks are. But again, any form of legislation that seems a bit vague really needs a lot of sort of government public awareness campaigns drawing out the key points and what the implications of that are going to be on people's lives and livelihoods.
I'm quite interested in your views with the election coming up as well. But let's talk about the ruling that came out this week from the United Nations. Can you share what your thoughts are on that?
So, the ruling that came out recently, I think it was perhaps
Monday?
Yeah.
Was it Monday?
Monday
I was reading that. I think it came out on Monday because I was interviewed by their staff on Tuesday, but we were reading them. But so what are your
so the ruling essentially said that so-called climate refugees and peoples displaced by climate can't be sent home to their home country if there is proof that climate change is affecting their dignity of life or their human rights.
Back home?
Yes, back home. That ruling related to a case in New Zealand. So Ione Tesiosa, who is an Ikiribasi man, he tried to come into New Zealand with him and his family. And claimed that climate change was affecting his ability to live safely in his homeland. And that case was denied in New Zealand court, so he was sent back. He escalated to the UN, and the UN...
Good on him.
Yes, good on
so
him.
Proud of him. Good on you.
So impressed by that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately the UN agreed with New Zealand's ruling. But they did, through that case, highlight that in the future such cases might become more frequent, and also the evidence saying that they cannot return home will become more certain. So perhaps in 10-15 years' time, as was argued in Tesiosa's case, they might be given right to stay through seeking asylum or being given refugee status.
That's a bit like, because I heard Ian Lee, the Minister of Immigration, Ian Lee's Galway, who came on, and it's exactly like what they were saying, and that's why I'm very interested in the election coming up and see how we can actually put pressure on the government, it's so, politics, politics, Olivia, we can, play around with things and say, but hey, meanwhile, my people back home and our Kiribati brothers and sisters, the recent cyclone of Tino, that shows like how vulnerable my people are, and it's just not, and it's just not fair, it's not on. This is about the survival of my people. But how can we make sure? Yes, there's one thing, the ruling from the UN, but what about New Zealand? Because at the end of the day, it's about the government of the day really doing something about it.
I think it's really important that people realise that climate change is not in and of itself a political issue. It affects everybody. Regardless of which way they vote. But it has become politicised because of its influences on businesses, on livelihoods, on jobs. So therefore we need to get back to the heart of it and say, hey, everybody's going to be affected anyway. We need to be pro-climate action.
I think, coming back to what you say here, because talking to a lot of workers as well. It's very funny because in the beginning they think that it's only about, oh, people back in the islands are affected by this. They never made that connection that's, hey, it's about future of work as well, My job, I use gas, I use this. So once that's, if we're transitioning from fossil fuel to something greener, so those kind of jobs are going to go. But, how can we make sure that we are right in the middle of that discussion, that their livelihoods, we are not losing out on their livelihoods as well? There's a lot that's going on that we really need to make sure that conversation is happening on all levels, But especially when it comes to workers, so that they realize that it's not just about the people in the islands, it's about us here too. Yeah, I know there's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's where that just transition becomes really
Yep.
important.
Mm-hmm.
And the government is very aware of these impacts, but whether or not they're actually able to make sure that people retain jobs and at the same level, that is what we'll have to see. The proof is in the pudding.
Exactly. And that's, and that's why I'm very keen to, the discussion around the carbon, the zero carbon bill, because to me, it's very interesting because, yes, we celebrate that, but what does it mean to the people, the grassroots level? Do they really understand what it means? Because we don't want to be celebrating something, but at the same time misleading and, that kind of thing, unless the people really understand what the hell is it all about. It's the impact on me and my family, my community. Otherwise, it's just another bill that is just, but it's really not doing anything to improve or to deal with climate action, that kind of thing. I don't know, but there's a lot to do, but
Yeah, there's a lot to do, but there's a lot of people to do it.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that discussion and that robust debate need to happen, on all levels, so that our people are quite aware. Ask questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question, but, ask any question we're not sure about anything, especially with politicians, so that we make sure that we really understand what they're really committed to, Yeah. Because even council, we're not really sure what they're committed to as well, So besides central government, we're talking about local government as well. In our community as well, what can we do as communities in our everyday life? Plastic. Anyway, Olivia, well, there's so much to do. Okay, so your final thoughts or something that you would love to leave with our listeners tonight too? We know climate action is real, but because looking around the world and everything that's going on, but what are your thoughts on, as an academic and sitting where you are sitting and looking at everything that's happening around you and go,
There's a real shift within research, within the climate action space, towards really emphasising traditional knowledges in the fight for climate change. And seeing that through all the things within the climate migration space, but climate change more broadly, is really encouraging, seeing how people's skills to fight extreme weather events in the past are becoming really valuable now, and people's knowledges of how to look after their own environments are still incredibly valid. And so it's really cool to see how other spaces, and particularly colonised spaces, are coming back to Indigenous knowledges and giving space for those to thrive.
Acknowledging that, I think it came across with the bushfires in Australia, how all of a sudden now they started to realise and acknowledge the people of the land and their the traditional knowledge and things, whereas before they just don't give a heck about anything, It's all about the Western knowledge and things. But it's good. We're getting slight change, but it's a long way to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we just have to keep getting up and keep going out and keep trusting that the world will stay a livable place because people are acting. We can get lost in the doom and gloom a bit, but I like to focus on the hopeful news stories and meeting cool people who bring me hope. That's the way forward.
Likewise, that's how I look at it too. Build civil society. Yes, we can do it, but it's a matter of us, working together. Stop working in silos, but let's work together to really make a difference. Climate change is real. let's keep on and keeping on, eh, Olivia?
Aye.
It's not the end of the world. Let's keep on. If we keep on looking at the future generation, and then it will give us hope that, I mean, I'm so proud of our young people nowadays really standing up and making a difference as well, and to be heard.
The Tuvaluan community is so resilient. Like, having been able to go along to the Language Week celebrations and seeing how vibrant the community is, that's really, really encouraging.
I know, and we need more of our young people to participate in this, climate action and things, so. But yay, bring it on. Okay, I know. Hi, thanks a lot once again. Thanks a lot for making time to be on our Tuvalu community program, and keep us posted. So we will put the link up on our PMN Tuvalu page for our people to go there and participate in your survey. But all the best as well with your survey. This is just the beginning of great work, eh? More exciting things to happen. Whakawhetai, Olivia, for your time tonight. Ia ko Olivia tēnā, tōtino whakalongolongo tēnā, we'll put up the link a Olivia ki tēnā survey mo tōtino Tuvalu, mana ko mea ko ulua ke participate ne, to be part of that survey. Whakawhetai lahi, Olivia, for being part of our program tonight.